Hello students, today we are going to start a new chapter and the name of that chapter is Organism and Population. This chapter is the last chapter of Ecology. We have covered all chapters of Ecology, not all, we have not learned ecosystem. So we have covered environmental issues, we have covered biodiversity and its conservation, and we have not covered ecosystem, but now we are talking about organism and population. Okay, so today we will begin with organism and population. So in that, the first topic is biological organization. In this chapter we have to learn a topic called biological organization. What is biological organization? We all know that biomolecules are the smallest part of our body. Biomolecules, okay? Biomolecules are there. They are the smallest part of our body. Biomolecules unite to form cells. Biomolecules unite to form cells. Cells unite to form tissues. Tissues unite to form organs. Organs unite to form organ systems. And organ systems will form individual, and many individuals of same species will form a population, and different populations will unite to form a community, and different communities will form ecosystem, and many ecosystems are part of bio. This arrangement, this ascending arrangement is known as biological organization. This ascending arrangement is known as biological organization. Let us revise that again. Biomolecules will unite to form cell. Cells will unite to form tissues. Tissues will form organs. Organ will unite to form organ systems. Organ systems constitute individual. Individual of same species will unite to form population. Different populations will unite to form community, and different communities will form ecosystem, and different ecosystem will unite to form bio. This is an ascending order of biological organization. This is an ascending order of biological organization. As we proceed further, the complexity of any process will increase. Complexity of any process increases as we go further in this biological organization. As we go further in this biological organization, complexity of any process will increase. Okay, so complexity of any process increases as we go further in this biological organization, and this shows ascending order of biological organization. This is an ascending order of biological organization. Now, if we want to learn any process in this biological organization, then we may ask certain question. We have to ask certain question. So at any level of biological organization, we may ask two type of question. At any level of biological organization, we will ask two type of questions. And those questions will be how type of question and why type of question. If we want to learn any process in the biological organization, then we may ask two type of question, and those questions are how type of question and why type of question. How type of question will always explain the mechanism behind process. How type of question will always explain the mechanism behind the process. Whereas why type of question will always explain the significance of the process. If we want to learn any process in the biological organization, then we have to ask certain question, and these question will be how type of question and why type of question. Now, how type of question explains the mechanism behind process. How type of question will explain mechanism behind the process, that how a particular process is occurring, that will be explained by the how type of question. And why type of question will explain the significance of the process, that why is that process occurring in the biological organization. Say for example, how does the bird sing? How does the bird sing? That is a question. Okay, this question the answer of this question will be bird sings with the help of C-rings. Bird sings with the help of C-rings. In our body we have larynx, whereas in case of birds they have C-rings which produces sound. So bird sings with the help of C-rings. So in this manner we can explain the mechanism behind the process, that bird is singing with the help of sea rings. Bird is singing with the help of sea rings. So that explains mechanism behind the process. Okay, so how type of question will explain mechanism behind process, whereas why type of question will explain the significance of the process, that why does the bird sing. So the answer of that question will be the bird sings to call the partner during the breeding season. Bird sings to call the partner during the breeding season. So why does the bird sing? Bird sings to call its partner for breeding. Bird sings to call its partner for breeding. So in this manner, how type of question explains the mechanism behind the process, whereas why type of question explains the significance of process. Okay, so this is about biological organization, and then we said that if we want to learn any process in the biological organization, we may ask two type of question: how type of question and why type of question. How type of question explains the significance of mechanism behind process, whereas why type of question explains significance of the process. And then we saw two examples of both the questions. Now let's talk about ecology. What is ecology? Ecology is a branch of biology that studies interaction among organisms and interaction between organisms and their physical environment. What is ecology? Ecology is a branch of biology that studies interaction among organisms and interaction between organisms and their physical environment. This is the definition of ecology. This is definition of ecology. Ecology is a branch of biology that studies interaction among organisms and interaction between them and interaction between their physical environment. Okay, ecology is a branch of biology that studies interaction among organisms and interaction between organisms and their physical environment. Now, ecology is studied at 4 levels. Ecology is studied at 4 levels. Which levels are there? Organism level, populational level, community level, and biome level. Always ecology is studied at 4 levels. It is studied at organismic level, it is studied at populational level, it is studied at communities level, and then it is studied at biome level. But in this chapter, we will study ecology only at 2 levels. In this chapter, we will study ecology only at 2 levels, and these levels are organism and population, and that's why the name of the chapter is organism and population. Okay, generally ecology is studied at 4 levels. Generally ecology is studied at 4 levels: organismic level, populational level, community level, and biome level. But in this chapter, we are going to study ecology only at 2 levels, that is organism and population. So we will study ecology at organismic level and populational level. Now, we all know that our earth moves around the sun on slightly tilted axis. Earth moves around the sun on a slightly tilted axis. We all know this. And due to this movement around sun on a slightly tilted axis, we find annual variation of temperature. Okay, annual variation temperature arises because of movement of the earth around the sun on a slightly tilted axis. Okay, annual variation of temperature arises because of movement of earth around the sun on a slightly tilted axis, as well as annual variation of precipitation also arises because of this movement. So our earth moves around the sun on a slightly tilted axis, and because of this, two factors arise. One factor is annual variation of temperature and annual variation of precipitation. Okay, so we find annual variation of temperature and annual variation of precipitation because of the movement of earth around the sun on a slightly tilted axis. And both these variations lead to formation. Both these variations lead to formation of different biomes. Both these variations lead to formation of different biomes. Say for example, desert, tundra, and rainforest. Desert, tundra, and rainforest are the examples of different biomes, and these biomes are produced because of annual variation of temperature and annual variations of precipitation, and these variations arise because of the movement of the earth around sun on a slightly tilted axis. So I hope you are clear with the formation of biome, that how are the biomes produced. Okay, how are the biomes formed? Different biomes like desert, rainforest and tundra are produced because of annual variation of temperature and annual variation of precipitation, and both these variations arise because of the movement of the earth around the sun. Okay, so this point explains how different biomes are formed. Okay, so here we have learned the definition of ecology. Then we said that we learn ecology at 4 level, but in this chapter we will learn ecology only at 2 level. And then we have talked about formation of biome. How are the biomes formed? We have seen the example of biome and we have seen the formation. In the next slide, we will learn about different habitats, that how different habitats are formed. Okay, so we will talk about the formation of different habitats. We have seen the formation of biome. In the next slide, we will talk about formation of different habitats. So students, we have seen that how different biomes are produced, and we said that due to annual variation of temperature and due to annual variation of precipitation, different biomes are formed. And these variations arise because of the movement of earth around sun on a slightly tilted axis. Now let's talk about how different habitats are formed. Okay, how different habitats are formed, that we will discuss now. Regional and local variation in each biome. There are 3 biomes, 3 major biomes we have seen, that desert, tundra and rainforest. These are the 3 major biomes are there. Desert, tundra and rainforest. Now in each of that biome, some regional and local variations will be there. Okay, so regional and local variation in each biome, leads to formation of different habitats. Different habitats are produced because of regional and local variations in each biome. We have seen the example of biomes, desert, tundra and rainforest. In each of that biome, there will be some regional and local variations, and these variations lead to formation of different habitats. And here a list of habitat is given, like scorching Rajasthan desert, rain-soaked Meghalaya forest, deep ocean trenches, torrential streams, permafrost polar regions, high mountain tops, thermal springs, stinking compost pits. These are some examples of habitats, different habitats. Okay, these are different habitats: scorching Rajasthan desert, rain-soaked Meghalaya forest, deep ocean trenches, torrential streams, permafrost polar regions, high mountain tops, thermal springs, stinking compost pits, and our intestine is also a habitat for some microbes. Our intestine are also habitat for some of the microbes. So these are the examples of different habitats. And each habitat has 2 types of component. Like abiotic component and biotic component. Each habitat will have 2 types of components, abiotic component and biotic component. Abiotic components are also known as physical components, and abiotic components are temperature, light, water and soil. Temperature, light, water and soil are the abiotic components of any habitats. Abiotic component of any habitat is temperature, light, water and soil. Whereas biotic component of any habitat are pathogens, parasite, predator and competitors. Pathogen, parasite, predator and competitors are the biotic component of any habitat. So any habitat will have 2 types of component, abiotic component and biotic component. Abiotic component are also known as physical component. They are temperature, light, water, soil. Biotic component are pathogen, parasite, predator, competitor. These are the biotic components. Okay. So let's talk about ecological niche. We will define ecological niche. What is ecological niche? Each organism has a defined range of conditions that it can tolerate. Each organism has a defined range of conditions it can tolerate. Okay. And it has diversity in resources which it can utilize. It has diversity in resources which it can utilize. It cannot utilize all resources, or all organisms cannot utilize same resources. Organisms utilize different resources. So organism will have diversity in the resources it can utilize, and an organism will have a distinct role in the ecosystem. Each organism will have a distinct role in the ecosystem. Say for example, a lion will be predator in the ecosystem. Deer, he will be carnivore also. He is a predator and he is a carnivore in the ecosystem. A deer will be a herbivore in the ecosystem, and a plant will be producer in the ecosystem. In this manner, plant, deer and lion has distinct role in their ecosystem. Okay, so each organism will have distinct role in the ecosystem. All together will form ecological niche of animal or organism. Okay, all these three things together will form ecological niche. Let us define ecological niche. Again, it is very important, frequently asked in NEET as well as board. Ecological niche, the definition is, each organism has defined range of conditions that it can tolerate and diversity in the resources that it can utilize, and it has a distinct role in the ecosystem. All together constitute ecological niche of an organism. All together constitute ecological niche of the organism. Okay, so what is meant by distinct role? Say for example, deer is herbivore in the ecosystem, plant is producer in the ecosystem, and lion is carnivore in the ecosystem. That is their role. So role of an organism in any ecosystem, as well as the diversity in the resources that it can utilize, as well as the defined range of conditions that it can tolerate, all together will form ecological niche of any organism. Okay, so we have discussed the biotic and abiotic components of the habitat. We have discussed ecological niche. We have seen that how different habitats are formed, and we have seen the examples of different habitats. Now we will begin with the first abiotic factor, that is temperature. We will start with the temperature and then we will discuss rest of the abiotic factors. We will start with the temperature first. So let's discuss temperature in the next slide. So students, we have seen that each habitat has two types of factor, abiotic factor and biotic factor. In abiotic factor, temperature is there, water is there, then soil is there, and light is there. So four abiotic factors are there: temperature, soil, water and light. Out of them, we are going to start with temperature first, and then we will learn about water. So we are going to discuss abiotic factors of any habitat. We are learning abiotic factors of any habitat, and we are beginning with temperature. So average temperature on land varies greatly. Average temperature on land varies greatly. As we move from equator to polar region, temperature decreases. And when we move from plains to mountain, the temperature decreases. Okay, so average temperature on land varies greatly, because when we move from equator to polar region, temperature decreases, and when we move from plain to mountain, the temperature decreases. So this explains that average temperature on land varies greatly. It is not same. Then its range, temperature range is sub-zero in polar region and more than 50 degrees Celsius in desert. The temperature ranges in sub-zero degrees Celsius in polar region, and sometimes more than 50 degrees Celsius temperature is found in the desert. And in thermal springs as well as in hydrothermal vents, it can reach up to 100 degrees Celsius. So these are the different ranges of temperature. Like it can be sub-zero in polar region, it can be more than 50 degrees Celsius in desert region, and it can be more than 100 degrees Celsius in thermal springs as well as in hydrothermal vents. And it is general knowledge that a mango tree will not grow in temperate countries like Canada and Germany. It is a general knowledge that a mango tree can't grow in temperate countries like Canada and Germany. And a snow leopard will not live in Karnataka forest. Okay, so snow leopard is not found in Karnataka forest, and tuna fish is rarely found out of the tropical latitudes. So these three sentences say that different organisms can live in their particular temperature range only. They cannot survive in all temperature ranges. Like mango tree can't grow in temperate regions like Canada and Germany. Snow leopard cannot survive in Karnataka jungles, and tuna fish is rarely found beyond tropical latitudes. So these three sentences explain that certain organisms can tolerate certain range of temperature only. Now, how is the temperature affecting different organisms? How does the temperature affect different organisms? See, temperature affects the kinetics of enzyme, and through that it affects the metabolic activity, and through that it affects the physiological function of the organism. How does the temperature affect different organisms? So first of all, temperature affects the kinetic of the enzyme. Through that it affects the metabolic activity, and through that it affects the physiological functions of different organisms. In this manner, temperature produces its effect on the different organisms. And organisms who can tolerate a wide range of temperature are known as eurythermal, and organisms who can tolerate a narrow range of temperature are known as stenothermal. Organisms who can tolerate wide range of temperature are known as eurythermal, and organisms who can tolerate a narrow range of temperature are known as stenothermal. Okay, and temperature tolerance of different organisms will determine their distribution. Okay, temperature tolerance of different organisms will determine their distributions, whether they will be distributed in wide region or they will remain in narrow region, in small region. That will be determined by their temperature tolerance. If they can tolerate wide range of temperatures, then they will be distributed throughout the world. But if they can tolerate narrow and specific range of temperature, then they will be limited to a narrow region within a specific region. Okay, so this is all about temperature. Let's revise the temperature again. What is said in the first sentence? It is said that average temperature on the land varies greatly. As we move from equator to polar region, the temperature decreases, and as we move from plains to mountains, temperature decreases. And ranges of temperature are sub-zero in polar region, more than 50 degrees Celsius in desert, and in thermal springs as well as in hydrothermal bands it can reach up to more than 100 degrees Celsius. And it is general knowledge that mango tree can't grow in temperate countries like Canada and Germany, and snow leopard is not found in Karnataka jungles, as well as tuna fish is rarely caught out of the tropical latitudes. So this explains that some organisms can tolerate some range of temperature only, and temperature affects the kinetics of our enzyme. Through that it affects the metabolic activity, and through that it affects the physiological functions of different organisms. Organisms who can tolerate wide range of temperature are known as eurythermal, and organisms who can tolerate a narrow range of temperature are known as stenothermal, and their temperature tolerance will determine their distributional range. Temperature tolerance will determine their distributional range. In this manner, we have covered the first abiotic factor of the habitat, that is temperature. Now let's talk about water. See, life originated in water. We all know that. Okay, life originated in water, and without water, life is unsustainable also. Life originated in water, and without water, life is unsustainable. And its availability is limited in desert. Availability of water is limited in desert. So if any organism wants to survive in desert, then it has to develop certain adaptations. availability of water is less in desert. So any organisms who wants to live in desert has to develop certain adaptations, otherwise he can't survive in the desert. Okay, so we are talking about water, and we said that water in life originated in water, and without water life is unsustainable also, and limited access is there in desert. The availability of water is very less in desert, and if any organism wants to survive in desert, then he has to develop certain adaptations. And water affects the productivity and distribution of plants. What is the effect of water on plants? Water affects the productivity of plants, and it affects the distribution of the plants. What is the effect of water on plants? Water affects the productivity of the plant, and it also affects the distribution of the plants. We may think that aquatic organisms may not have any problems regarding water. We may think that aquatic organisms may not face any problems regarding water, but it's not true. They also have problems regarding water. Like the quality of water is very important for them. Say for example, pH and chemical composition of water matters for them. Okay, pH of the water and chemical composition of the water matters more for the aquatic organism. Okay, if pH is not suitable and if chemical composition is not suitable, then aquatic organisms can't survive in that water. Okay, so we may think that aquatic organisms don't have water related problems, but it's not true. They have quality problems, they have problems of pH, and they have problems of chemical composition. Okay, and now let's talk about salinity. What is salinity? Salinity is the measure of salt concentration. Salinity is a measure of salt concentration, and it is indicated in PPT. Parts per thousand. So in inland water like in river, pond, etc., the salinity is 5%. Okay, salt concentration will be 5% in inland water like a river, pond, etc. And in ocean it will be 30 to 35%. So salt concentration will be 30 to 35% in ocean, and in some hypersaline lagoons it can go up to 100% or more than 100%. Okay, in some hypersaline lagoons the salinity can be more than 100%. Okay, and then organisms who can tolerate wide range of salinity. Organisms who can tolerate wide range of salinity are known as euryhaline, and organisms who can tolerate narrow range of salinity are known as stenohaline. So euryhaline are those organisms who can tolerate wide range of salinity, and stenohaline are organisms who can tolerate narrow range of salinity. So let's talk about water again. Water in life originated in water, and without water life is unsustainable. In desert, the water availability is less, so any organism wants to survive in desert has to develop some adaptations. And water affects productivity and distribution of plants, and we may think that aquatic organisms may not face any problem regarding water, but it's not true. For them, quality and pH and chemical composition are very important. Okay, and salinity, that is a measure of salt concentration, is indicated in PPT, that is parts per thousand. In inland water, salinity is 5%, like in pond and river. In ocean, it is 30 to 35%, and in hypersaline lagoons, it will be more than 100%. And organisms who can tolerate wide range of salinity are known as euryhaline, and organisms who can tolerate narrow range of salinity are known as stenohaline. If we place a freshwater organism in ocean, then it will not survive. And if we place a marine animal in a fresh water, then it cannot survive because of osmotic problems. Okay, if we place any freshwater organism in oceanic water, then it will not survive. And if we keep an oceanic organism in fresh water, then also it will not survive because of the osmotic problems. Okay, so this is all about water, and this is all about temperature. So we have covered two abiotic factors of the habitat. We are remaining with light and soil, that we will discuss in next video. So we have started chapter 13, organism and population, and in that we have covered up to temperature and water, that are the abiotic factors of the habitat. Okay, best of luck.